Okay, good morning, and we're on the fifth parak, Shoshnogi Chesapara, which starts on Daf Mem Vav. So yesterday we had the Mishnah, which was a Sumchus. The Gemara says that a Sumchus that holds Mammon Mutal Pesach Kolkin is a suffix on a payment, so they divide it in half. And the Gemara says that Rabbanan argue and say what's Mechabel Raya. The Gemara had two cases. The Mishnah had two cases. One was when the Parah is always the one that has a suffix. Either it was a suffix Nizik or it was a suffix Mazik. The Parah had a Vlad, it was a pregnant Parah, and it had a Vlad, and when the Shosh Navi Parah, we find the Parah dead, but we also find the dead Ubra. And the question was also a result of the Nagicha, and it had a miscarriage after the Shah was massacred, and then it's maybe the Shah's fault also, or maybe it was a miss that it had before it got and then it wasn't the Shah's fault. So the Mishnah says it pays Chatzin Ezek for the Parah because for showing damage, then it's a Tam, so Chatzin Ezek. And if you're Nezek Lavlad, the quarter, because half of half, because at most you'd have to pay, even if it definitely would have been Mazik the Vlad, it would have been Chatzin Ezek, and now it's a suffix, so half of that is a quarter. The Mishnah said the opposite case when the par was the mazik, and the question was if the vlad was part of it when it was mazik or already had given birth, and then it was just an innocent bystander. So the Mishnah said chasi nezek min apara, revi nezek min vlad, which we'll get to soon. We'll explain that soon. Just to go to the Gemara. The Gemara said that our Mishnah holds you have a doubt about money, so you divide it, but that's sumchus. But the Rabbanan say what's available raya. In the words of Shmuel, he said Zekla Gadol. Zekla Gadol Bedin. This is a great rule, a big rule. So this all I just noticed today is all in parentheses. The next sugya all talks about why does it say Zekla Gadol Bedin, and we can put this in parentheses, and we're still in the middle of the sugya, and we could really jump to Amud Beis where it says Tani Namayachi, and it's where is Tani Namayachi? Over here. Which yesterday I stopped and I thought it was middle of a sentence. It wasn't. It really goes back to what we just finished saying. Tani Namiyachi, that our Mishnah is only some chespat Rabbanan Agi. So we can do it already now. Tani Namiyachi, Shosh Navi Chasapor, Benim Sober Betzila, Ben Yodaya, Ima Shalanot Chayoldim, Eshanot Chayoldim, Mishlam Chatzi Nezek Lapar, Ben Nezek Lapar. Word for word, the Mishnah we just did. Divrei Sumchis, Chamamomrim, Hamosim Chaber, Varaya. So that's the. So then let's go back to the parentheses that Shmuel, when he said the same thing as the Bryce said that come and say so he put in the word Zek Gadol Bedin. This is a great halacha. So the Gemara wants to know why did he add on that emphasis? And the Gemara says Tupshat wants to say that even if the nizik, the one who's demanding the money, he says definitely, not in our case. Our case nobody knows. You don't know when it happened. But if he would say, well, I do know, or maybe he says he knows he was there, but nobody else was there. There's no Eidim, the mazik wasn't, and the mazik says he doesn't know. So you might think there's more reason to say there's more of a taina, but also I'm not right. The Rabbanan say that that's not enough of a taina just because you say no, but I don't know. So prove it. I'm not right. Another case, the Gemara goes into Machlokas Rav and Shmuel. If you say if you say rov, how does it go? What's the expression of the Gemara? If you go basa rov. Thank you. Or not. So the Gemara says the case. There would have been a suffix, somebody sold the shore, and the buyer says, you gave me a nakhan. This is a wild shore. I can't work with it. When I took out my plow today and he started boring and this, I can't work with him. So he says, I thought you're going to buy it for shkita. And what's the difference if it's a gore? So Igmar says, must be talking about the case where the buyer is both a farmer and he's a butcher. So you can't prove from his occupation what he meant to buy it for. And also it must be the same price. If the price will be a different price, also if they're proving the price. So that's also a case where both prices are the same. And the question is because most people do buy it for working, and that's a rove. Rav says that you go with the rove, and he could time that I want my money back because rove is on my side. That most people buy it for working, for reading, for plowing. And Shmuel says, we pass like Shmuel. That law is needed even by you go with the rove only by Yisur, but not by Ramanas. The Gemara explained also that if there's no money to collect, so then he'll keep the shore for his money. That's true, but he does. But the seller does have money, and the buyer wants his money back. So Rav says he gets his money back, and Shmuel says he doesn't. It passes like Shmuel that you don't go with rove by money. then we said Tanya Namayochi. This is going further ready today to get it on the screen now. I mean, again, doesn't say the words of Shmuel about Klal Gadol within. Means the second, I didn't speak it out already. That Shmuel, the second chapter of the Gemara, the reason why it says Klal Gadol is to say about Shmuel Baraya. Shmuel is the one who's talking, and he holds that he's saying about Shmuel Baraya even against Rove, even against the Rove. Okay, so we got up to now Amar of Shmuel Bar Nachmani.
Can you just clarify for me the Revia? The Revia, the Reva, or whatever it is going to be from the Vlad. It's a half of the Vlad, or where did we get a quarter?
Right. So I didn't translate it now. That's not when we learned it. In the ratio there was a Revia Nezek to pay for the Vlad. It means that in the ratio the case was that the suffix if the Vlad was damaged or not. So that makes sense. If it would be definitely damaged, it would have been Chatzi Nezek, and now you don't know. So Rishumcha says half of that is a quarter. The question is going to be on the Sefer, which case if you don't know if the Vlad was mazik or not. So the words, we didn't do the words today, but yesterday we spoke about a little bit. We're going to get to the Gemara now. So instead of confusing, we'll wait a couple of lines until we get to the Gemara. So here the Gemara has, how do you know? What's the source that the one who wants to extract the money has to prove it? So Shmuel Bar Nachmani said, Yigash Aleichem.
This is the Gemara that talks about over no else.
I'm sure the other Gemaras also, but this is there. Where do you know it from? You had another study also earlier that the Gemara says, there's another mission that says Borivish, that says so there are other sugis also. So here the Gemara says, usually he's always connected to Agarata. There's maybe a little bit of Agarata also at Rash. How do you know? So this is a pasuk in Parshas Yisrael, probably, that it says Moshe went up to Har Sinai. So he said, I'm going up to a mountain, and Aaron and Hur are here. Whoever has any problem should go to them. And try to find the pasuk over here. Moshe went up to Har Sinai, and he told his Canaan that Aaron and Hur are here. Whoever has an issue should approach them. And the Gemara is going to say that the word Yigash means to approach, but the Gemara is going to dash in Yagish that he should bring. Not that he should, like by Yigash means that he approached, but by Yagish, but Yagish would mean to bring something. And that's what the Gemara is going to dash in. Let's see. Yagish Raya Aleihem. That's the drash. That it says Yigash Shalem, whoever has the problem should approach. Here it says whoever has a problem should bring. What should he bring? He should bring a raya. That means if you have a time now, the Baal Bom is one who has a problem. It's going to be president. If you have a president, you have to bring something. What do you have to bring? You have to bring proof. Because you can't be Toveh without a proof of a Muslim Mechaber, all the right. The ones who come to extract money has to prove it.
So we're saying
Rashi didn't like this.
It means somebody who has a taina who has a claim against somebody because of damage that was caused to him. That's part of the drasha. Or that's in the pasuk. It means that.
Anytime.
A baldavari means someone who has
the pasuk that says if anybody has an issue.
Well, it could be a question or a claim, and here we're saying so. Here you have a claim. You have to bring or you shall approach. It means bring a raya. Okay.
Someone has a claim. Someone has a problem. He has an issue. The pasuk means approach, but the more is bring what? Bring a proof. So that'll be a source that the one who wants to have a claim has to have of his claim. He can't just come because he says so. And everyone will agree he won't get the whole thing, but some the Gemara says Chetzi, and here the Gemara seems to say that maybe this is going to be the source that you have to bring a raya, or else you don't get anything. Rashi has a kasha on this drash. You don't need a pasuk. It's a spar we can figure out by ourselves. A pasuk that's on our own. That's an expression. A person who has a pain goes to the doctor. Means the one who has he has the problem. The one who has the claim is the problem. He has to act on it. So acting on it when he has a pain goes to the doctor, and he has to be the one to prove his point. I don't understand the mushal so much I don't get the mushal on the nimshal that it's true. If you have a pain, you have to go to the doctor. Doctor doesn't go knocking on doors. Do you have any pain? It's true. But here we're talking about if he has to prove it or not. He came to Bezdin.
He's going to Bezdin.
What?
The marshal is more like
Go to Bezdin. So he went to Bezdin. Now I went to Bezdin. Now what?
no.
So
More
now
like
Bezdin's the doctor. So do
not coming
something.
to the doctor. It's taking the pill. So
Isn't
you
it
do
that you
too.
don't
It's not just coming to
you don't have
Bezdin.
to prove that you have a pain? If you have a pain, you go to the doctor. You don't have to prove that.
You're not healed until you have until you do what the doctor tells you. The doctor say that.
I don't know why you need the muscle. It's just why. Or just say if you want money from me, you have to prove it. Like why do you need this going to the
So
doctor?
whatever we're going to say, Simchas argues.
Okay, but why is such a strange muscle?
No, but
No, not strange. I'm not.
no, but you're saying that you don't need a mushal even. You don't need a
No,
spot.
but I'm saying.
But I'm asking everybody. You can say that it's so pashut, then it's as far. You don't need a pasuk even. Whatever it's going to be. Some Chasim seems to
Yes,
argue.
we're smarter than so.
But it can't be that. Rav Ashi says that you don't need a pasuk because it's so simple.
Isn't
I
it
don't really know.
this Maskif
I should say it's like shop is tired of barbarians.
Muskev is attacking the drash. He says that you don't need a drash. This says you don't need a drash for it.
which would be support for Sumchas, right?
No, it's against Somchas. Somchas is the one that says Chokin. He was saying not Chokin. He was saying what's Mechavel Baraya, either from a pasuk or from a Svara Ba'alma. So it's all against Somchas. The Prophet suggested that maybe the Gemara is not coming to talk about Moshe Mechavel Baraya as our sugya and Somchas is going to argue. It means a regular Moshe Mechavel Baraya places. Somchas also is going to agree. Of course, Somchas is going to agree that if someone goes over and says you owe me $100, and you say no, I don't. So you say 50. Good parnasa. You go over every morning, go over to 10 people and tell each one I owe you $100, and you get 50 each one. So for sure, some chazas not like that. And Taisus Lamed speaks that out. That it has to be that there is some case that arouses suspicion. But if there's no reason at all, so then some chazas also agrees. So maybe that's what the Gemara means. That you have to prove your point. You have to do something about it. That's kind of
No, I was just thinking.
okay. Now the Gemara goes. So we finished. How do you know? How do you know? Mention the pasuk. Oh, it comes sort of a parentheses. So once we mention the pasuk, again, you don't need a pasuk. It's going to be dashing about. You bound from Yigash. Why do you need a pasuk? Yival Dvarim Yigash Alayim. Elapro, the pasuk that says Yival Dvarim Yigash Alayim is going to be necessary for a different Russia. Look at Rav Nachman Rabba Baravua. His Russia. If this case and there's a tovei and nitva, how do you say that in English? The tovei and the nitva. Who's called the one the claimant and the defendant? I don't know who the plaintiff is. I don't know what that is, but one of them. But the one who claims against the defendant, he has a claim, and then the defendant comes back. And then the one.
That's not okay. Now take it back.
And then the defendant, he says, I have a claim on you also, or maybe even more. So he comes back with a counterclaim. Rashi seems to say that the claims are somewhat in the same case. Taisva seems to say even if there's two independent cases altogether, Reuven claims against Shimon, and then they bring Shimon to Bezdin, and Shimon says, "What? I have a claim against you." So the Bezdin do both claims together, or they do one at a time. And the first one, they do Reuven against Shimon, and maybe Shimon has to pay, and then Shimon has a claim against Reuven. That'll be second. And I'll come back tomorrow. We'll make a get online, and we'll down that separately. So that's what the question is to say. How do you know that Bezdin is not obligated only to the claimant first? Because it says, and we did make a little drash here also. Yagish to Barav Alayhim. I'm not sure. Pinchas wasn't sure why it has to say Yagish, Yikadash. Simply, he should approach. The one who has the issue should approach. And what means he has first rights to talk. And the other one can't make a counterclaim. He only can defend himself. And then once the Gemara brought this down, so the Gemara does explain that sometimes there's an exception to the rule. Sometimes you do listen to the counterclaim first. If because of the claim against him, his property is going to be worth less. Rashi says, for instance, that if there's no big claim against him and everyone knows that he's up for money, he has to pay. Person says you have to pay whatever, $100,000. Now he has to sell his house because of that, and it's going to be worth less because everybody knows that he's up for money because Bezdin says he has to pay. So then his property is going to go down. So then they don't do one at a time. They listen to his counterclaim, and maybe he won't have to sell his house. So then also in parentheses just to explain the drasha if you don't need it for Moshe Mechaber El Barai. So now we get to the Sefer, which I didn't explain yet, so we'll do it now. So the Mishnah says, we go back to the Mishnah now, just to read the Mishnah together. I didn't want to bring all that confusion before we saw the Gemara we just saw to finish with that issue, and now we could get confused. Here it says, the Sefer. So the parah is the attacker, and it's a pregnant parah, and it attacked the shore, and the shore died, and what it was, and we see that the parah had given birth, the parah hamazika has a vlad, but we don't know if when it gored was vlad was also part of being a mazik or not. Maybe he already gave birth and then it was mazik, and then the vlad is innocent. It didn't do anything. Then you do a machalon chayolda mishnok chayolda. You don't know when the birth happened, before the negich or after. Mishtarim chatzin nezek min apara or v'yin nezek min vlad. So the words alone means that he gets chatzin nezek from the mother and he gets a quarter of the nezek from the vlad. So what do the words mean? Just the translation of the words. So instead of saying what I said yesterday, we'll say how the Gemara says. The Gemara says that the para has to pay chatzin nezek and the vlad pays a quarter nezek, and a half plus a quarter is 3/4. And that doesn't make sense because that means that the nezek is going to get 3/4 of what kind of thing is that? If every mazik chatam only pays chatzin nezek, how could you get 3/4 of the damage? It means the words literally wouldn't make sense. That's how the Gemara takes it, and I'd rather not say what I said yesterday because we learned the Gemara today that it's no such style of what I said yesterday. So leave it alone. So the Gemara is just going to ask that the words seem to say a half plus a quarter, and that can be, and that's the Gemara's question. Question of Chasashor, get Chatzin Nezek from the Torah and Revi Nezek from the blood. Chatzin Nezek or Revi Nezek, a half plus a quarter. How can exclude the boy Shlume? Kuli Niska Naki Ruba Mai Vidite. All you have to pay is Chatzin Nezek. But paying 3/4, there's no such business. What kind of business is that? So the word as translation means Kuli Niska means the whole Nezek, Nezek Shalem. Naki means minus, to deduct a quarter. That's the way the Gemara says 3/4. It says a whole minus a quarter. That's the Gemara's terminology for saying 3/4. So the Gemara asks, what is this? You pay a half and a quarter? 3/4 can't be.
They're supposed to have taken the half from the cow, with the female, the mother.
And the question is,
and
if
now
there's
there's
no,
a baby.
so the question is, was the baby also part of the hezek?
So do less than the half for the mother, and
So
take
the words that it says doesn't make sense. That it says a half plus a quarter.
the whole number. What are we evaluating? The cow and the baby, or are we evaluating the
You want to know how much the hezek was? You look at the dead cow, dead shore, the dead ox. The dead ox is $1,000, and half of that is $500. So we expect if it would have been one mazik, well, it would have been simple. So we would have gone over to the mazik.
So do the evaluation of what is owed to because of
we did it already. We know that there's $500 that has to be paid.
Don't ask on the
I don't understand.
don't ask on the psak yet. You don't understand.
We don't know what the words say. So the words seem to say that you take the parah and you pay half the nezek, that's 500, and you take the avlad, you pay another 250, 750, and you get it all together 750. How can it doesn't make it?
That's the question yesterday. In other words, as long as you're paying the amount, take it from the cow and we're done.
Let's take it. That's taken like I'm just saying, taking the Gemara's way of talking. The Gemara says that the stock seems to say you get 3/4. So if the damage was 1,000, you're going to get 750. It doesn't make sense. There's no such thing. Shamaza doesn't pay 3/4; it pays half. So it doesn't make sense. So we have to make words that make sense out of the words. What do the words mean? You have shine the words and you're asking. And the Gemara doesn't know what's found the words yet. So now the Gemara is going to try. I'm Rabbi. The two pshat is going to be Abai and Rava. Abai is over here, and Rava is going to be on the bottom of the page. I'm Rabbi. Chatzin nezek, echad me'abo b'nezek, or via nezek, echad mishmone b'nezek. Abai says that it doesn't mean a half and a quarter. It means a quarter and an eighth, which means that you take you're not going to get the whole Chatzi Nezek.
Ah, it's gonna be less than.
It's going to be less than that because the whole thing we're talking about is only the Chatzi Nezek. Of course, we're talking about that the Nezek was $1,000, so the Chatzi Nezek is $500. We're just talking about that. Now, of the $500 that you have to pay because that was Chatzi Nezek, so from the Torah, how much do you get? Only half of that. Why is that? Why should I only get half of that from the Torah? So he said, because he seems to say that he's going to have a shutter, that we have here two mazikim, the mother and the uber are looked upon as two mazikim,
Right.
and each one says, I'm only half of my mazik, because it's true that we damaged a shore that's $1,000, but I have we together did it. So the mother says, so if the mother be able to speak and the baby able to speak, each one says, I did half, so I only have to pay half.
That's the halacha if two people.
Oh, so that's
mazik.
Right. So two people. So shutfin that we call it shutfin. Shutfin
Right.
that were mazik. And the Gemara is going to say, so it takes a couple of lines, but the Gemara is going to say that they belong to two different people. The mother and the uber are owned by two different people. That somebody bought the uber from the pregnant cow. Somebody owned the pregnant cow, and he sold the uber to somebody else. And now this cow with the uber, let's say the uber would be there. So then, and let's say it'd be definite. Let's say it would have been definite that the uber was together with the cow. So when it was mazik, so both of them, Shutfin and Ezekiel, it's like two people were mazik, and each one only has to pay half of that.
Right. So how much do the two people have to pay?
So altogether, he's not going to pay.
Altogether, it's going to be a half. So each
Right.
guy is going to pay a quarter.
Right. Nice. But now, so very nice. What Moshe says so far is good. That there's two. There would have been two cows. If would have been two cows that were mazik, each one has to do half of the damage. So if there was $1,000 damage to the shore, so $500, each one has to pay $250.
Okay.
So that would have been
So it has to be like this in this case also. It should be the same way.
right. But here there's one more factor that we're not sure if the flood was part of it or not. We're not sure. And now some says one with himself in Cholkin.
We were sure in the Vlad and the mother, then it would still be the same thing for sure.
Then it would be 50 each one of them. Right.
Yeah, that's if we know for sure.
Right. But if we're not
Since
sure,
we don't know.
No, the Torah for sure is mazik, and the Vlad we're not sure is mazik. So therefore, the Vlad only has to pay half of how much we would have had to pay.
Right.
We would have to pay $250, so only pays half of that.
Right.
And that's going to be
Right.
an eighth.
Right. So that's 125.
So 125.
So you got 250 and 125. It's going to be 375.
And he's not going to get his full
He's not
500.
going to get 4-5.
Good, because they're shutfin that were mazik over here. That's how the Gemara explains the Mishnah. Are you happy with that?
Why should the mazik suffer a quarter every nezek?
Because there's a suffix.
It's suffix. Are you only 500?
It says prove it. If you could prove it, then I'll pay you.
I'm
sorry. Take back. How much Michael Baraya?
Prove that to the line.
It means some places even being nicer than a mazik. There are one are going to say that maybe he has a shuttik. So the Torah definitely has to pay his half, which means 250. The whole damage was 1,000. Half of that is chasin nezek. Even if everything we buy now, the Torah surely has to pay 250. But the other shuttik, we're not sure if he has to pay or not, so he's not going to pay. And he's only going to get 250 out of the whole thing. And the simplest is a leave him
because on the side the other shutuf's not paying, so then the first shutuf pays. Right, we have two shutufs over here. We're not sure if shutuf A did the whole thing or A and B did it together.
Say,
So
pays his half.
But A pays his half, and B we're gonna.
There's a suffix if he has to pay, so I'll pay
He
him.
doesn't have to pay for beef.
I'm just having a hard time.
A could pay, maybe it was B.
Maybe it was B.
That's the.
And it's not so. And then
Maybe
because
also A and B
Yeah.
together
Yeah.
collectively take out.
And if B runs away and doesn't pay, then it doesn't decide. You can't get him to pay the whole thing.
Yes.
But at this point, there's going to be a Gemara, I think, right? That's going to be a couple of lines that A definitely was mazik, and B we don't know, but you definitely were mazik. Then you prove that. Maybe you prove that there was a B. Maybe there's a time to say that A, you definitely were mazik,
Right.
and we don't know if there was a B.
Right.
But you definitely were mazik. You don't know if you have a shuttif, so maybe you prove it that there was a B.
Otherwise, it will come out. Right.
Maybe
That's-
okay.
that's-
That's going to be an issue.
It's a lot of time to figure out how an Uber is a mazik.
Money.
I'm having a hard time seeing.
It's part of the mother.
There should be.
The Uber doesn't have to have the horn.
Take it like you're
Yeah.
driving a car. Chaim David, take it like you're driving a car. Your car is a mazik, it's part of the mazik, right?
Every wheel is part of the.
Every wheel is part of mazik.
When the cows
Isn't
mazik,
it
every
right?
part of.
Right.
Also
the
exhaust
is part of the mazik.
So the exhaust pipe is part of the mazik.
If
Even
the,
exhaust
if
pipe
the
is also-
driver didn't put the brakes on.
Okay.
What's that?
That's right.
So you're only
Not
going
just the
to
brake.
collect the brakes.
Yeah,
Only
not just the
the
brake.
brakes is the mazik. Only the brakes is not mazik.
In this case, yeah.
Not in the case of the car.
Mm.
And he says that
You're gonna blame
only the
car?
brake,
You're
brakes
gonna
is the
blame the
problem.
car because it killed somebody. You put the car in jail.
No, you take the
You
car as
burn it.
money. You take
You
the
burn it. I mean,
the
I'm
car
trying
as
to
money.
get
You
it.
take the car as the worth of
Yeah,
them.
okay, that's definitely being Gufo. We have to talk about Gufo here. No, we're
Yeah,
not
we know
talking.
about
We're
the
talking about who was the mazik. Who was the mazik?
The baby's inside the womb. You say it was part of the magic.
Oh yeah, you could
Like this
understand
guy
it
saying,
because
wait,
it's a stronger
to make
punch.
it a shuttif, looking at like a separate entity. You are looking at not just looking like another piece of the stomach. You're making it like a separate entity. And a separate entity, do you look at it as like another mazik? That's kind of its problem, that you're looking at it as a separate mazik, as a shuttif.
And I think
No, because if it wouldn't be a separate mazik, then it wouldn't. No, it could be shutfim in one.
Both don't have the cow.
Stop. One cow that has shutfim, there was mazik, then it'll be the same thing. Each one only pays, each one has to pay half. And if you're not sure,
But
one
they
of
want
them
to
will pay
point this
40.
out that the Uber is considered like part of the goof of the product. It would be a
Yeah.
tzad, they're not. So it's a
Yeah,
little
listen,
beta.
if a guy's driving a horse,
That is part of the house.
And
It's part.
That's a chiddush.
if a guy is driving a horse, and they both fly in the horse and the driver and the human being, and flies into a shore, and they both come to shore at the same time. Okay, so then it would be both. It would be like half and half would have to pay.
Like shutfim shazik, like two shutfim that were mazik, two cows, two.
Or human being and a cow.
One cow which two people own.
Right.
Is it a rabbinic suffix on the blood? What kind of suffix is the blood?
Everything's the rise over here. If it's mazik, it has to pay. And you don't know if the blood was mazik or not. So it's a suffix. What do you do by a suffix? Some little bit suffix. Okay.
Maybe the blood was already born before the hezek, and I was an innocent bystander by the time the hezek came.
So the Gemara is not looking at the vlad like part of the animal, and and they're shutfim over here, as we'll see soon that they're shutfim. Same way you have one cow that has two shutfim, and they're mazik, they both have to pay. Each one pays that. And if there's a suffix of one of them, so he's left. It's going to someone still pay half of half of his half. So that's what it says. And he puts it into the Mishnah. The Mishnah says half and a quarter. It's not talking about the damage. It's talking about how much you're supposed to pay, which means we're starting from a starting point is from a chatzin nezek, and he's going to pay half because he's one shuttif, and the vlad is a suffix shuttif. So put the three factors together. It's only chatzin nezek plus he has a shuttif plus is a little bit suffix kolkin. That's how you get a.
And excuse me, Rebbe,
That was the Gemara's term. Yes, please.
we're adding, for Simcha, we're adding them together. We're saying out of Suffolk, he should pay something. So you take, the whole thing is a half. So each one's going to pay a quarter, which is 2/8. But since it's a Suffolk, one will only.
No, that's jumping. Again, the whole thing is only chatzin nezek. And there are two shutim, each one pays.
There's a Hatzin Nezek is 4/8. Hatzin Nezek is 4/8. And there's a Vlad and there's the Para. So that 2/8 is 4/8.
So each one should pay 2/8. Each one should pay 2/8.
And Simcha says,
should pay 2/8.
so let him.
And since one of them is a suffix, he only pays half of that. It's 1/8.
Plus 1 is 3/8. I was just getting confused about.
I might fit it into the mission.
Okay.
It's good. The Gemara asks that when I said that there are two owners, the Gemara doesn't know yet. That does jump because that's just to explain the words. But the Gemara asks, if both the mother and the baby, the fetus belong to one person, if it all then I don't care who mazik is. Either you did it by yourself, either your para did it or your para and your vlad did it. So what's the difference? You still have to pay me everything.
That's what I'm trying to say.
And love likes that. Okay, that's it.
Isn't that what I was trying to say?
I don't think so. Because the Gemara is going to say that it's shutfim.
You mean it's gonna.
The Gemara's only cash is it. It's not shutfim. It's only one owner. So what's the difference? Either it's the para or there's the para and the vlad.
But give me my half.
But
Is that what he's trying to say?
Because-
But give me what's
Manavshach is
Mashmagili.
because why? Not because one half. Because you owe me half, no matter if it was the para alone or was the para and the vlad that belongs to you.
Right.
You owe me anyway. So the Gemara is going to say, fine. So it's two shutfim. The para, the vlad, the vlad. Period. The answer is that they're two different people. So now he can't go to any para. He can't go to the you owe me because he goes to the para and the balapara says I only half of the half. So I'll give you what I owe you, which is $250. And then he goes to the one that owns the vlad and he says give me 250. He says, maybe I don't owe you 250. Maybe maybe I don't owe you at all. So maybe I'll give you 125 and be happy. That's simple. So that's 125 plus the 250. So your question was different. Your question was that he has to get his money back. That's not the time. You can't just say I want my money back. We'll all join in the problem that you want your money back. But who did it? And Shutif, the Parah says, I definitely owe you. I definitely don't owe you more than 250 because Shutif, the other one, the Vlad belongs to somebody else. Now, the Vlad doesn't know if it was born already, if it was born or not.
So someone has to be back and has to agree, right?
Then the Parah did it by himself. The Parah, he definitely has 250. And then it's a suffering on the other ones also. If it wasn't the Parah says, I definitely don't pay more than 250. Why is that?
No, only
Maybe I don't pay. Yeah, why?
Again, the moment will be talking. You're not sure if you have it. We're not sure if you have a shuttle. We're not sure if you have a shuttle.
we're not sure there was a shut.
We're talking to the Balapara. The Nisik and the Balapara are having a discussion. And the Balapara says, I owe you more than 250. Maybe you do. Maybe it gave birth already and you were marching by yourself.
But you don't know. You have to prove that. Prove that I was mazik.
We're going now someplace. We're going someplace. We're not going Wasmech Baran. We're going someplace.
So you want to know why it's not chilton?
Then why doesn't the Balapara have to pay more than 250?
Right.
Yes.
Because he's going to say, he was talking that he was Tovea first, the other guy. The Baldin himself went and was Tovea.
What's that? So therefore what? So you say,
himself said, then I said, he said I had a shut.
and if he
But you
didn't,
going to him first, you said I have.
and if he didn't go first, then what? Then I'm not sure.
Wie de Kaddim Tavei the Balpora Tchila from Amram.
That's what after now. Be the Kadim Tavei about Parah Tchila. If the Nizik came to the owner of the Parah first, Achinami Damalei about Parah. Parah didach aziktan havli by. He has a right to say that you were definitely mazik, and you don't know if you have a shutuf. But your Parah definitely was mazik, so therefore bring me a right that you had a shutuf. And if not, pay me the whole thing. The whole. That's the question. Why the whole chatzin? Maybe I had a shutuf.
Right. The most you get of that guy is 375.
The Gemara makes it that he has to prove, or else he has to pay the whole chatzin. I'm not sure why. That's also one little bit suffering. The Gemara looks at it as either chazaka this way, chazaka that way. We know for sure that you're a mazik. We don't know if you have a shutuf, so you have to pay the whole thing. Ella the kadim tavi lebal vlad chila. So the case will make sense if the nizik went over to the owner of the vlad first and said that you were mazik also. Then the owner of the parah could say, "Damalek, at least that I thought the shut firstly. You yourself agreed that I have a shut because you went to the vlad. Why do you go to the vlad for?"
Yeah.
So that shows that you, for some reason, not that he knows, but he's assuming.
Maybe.
I also don't know, but
Goes to who? I'm sorry.
there's the owner of the mother and the owner of the fetus,
Right, okay.
and the nizik got damaged,
Right.
and it was $1,000 damage, and he knows he's supposed to get chatzin nezik.
Right.
So he's asking, so he goes to the owner of the mother and the owner of the vlad. If you went to the owner of the mother first, so then the owner of the mother could say that no. If he goes to the owner of the parah first, and the parah is going to say I had a shutuf, he says I don't know if you have a shutuf. Maybe you don't have a shutuf, so you have to pay me the whole chatzin nezik, and prove that you had a shutuf.
Well, at least more than that.
No,
Maybe more
it was
than that.
the fires on the
On the
mazik.
bala part, on the mazik. But
Yeah.
if the nizik went first to the bala vlad and said you owe me, so then the bala parah is clear because of that half, because you yourself agree that there was a vlad, and therefore I don't have to pay 250. And now go deal with the bala vlad, and you're only going to get half out of him because you don't know. On this point, and this last point, I'll put all this in parentheses just to make that it's a thing on its own.
And what is this trying to prove to us? There's really the onus is sitting on the mother, the pile, not on the blood. And if you go straight to the owner of the pile, you should indeed get your hat. You have a right to your hat. That's what I'm.
Unless he's moda, so to speak, that he had that. I know he had a shutuf, then he only could take 250 from the owner of the parah. And this last point, some about the chetzi.
He said that he was a chazaka. Maybe you're saying maybe the parah should only have to pay 3/4 of the half. In other words, the 250 equals another 125. So he says, but there was a chazaka that the parah was more.
So there's
All the way around stuff.
Mhm.
Okay, so maybe you just need more.
Okay.
The Gemara says the whole.
Power did chazik the havli right is toch shit.
If you don't bring a raya, then it'll be a
Because
you
some
want
of
to
us
yourself totally from the other hand.
Okay, and others say that Baal Power does have a time now. Even if he came to the Baal Power first, he could say Damale made the Yadi the Shutfist. I do know that I have a Shutfist. That means that Baal Power doesn't have to prove that he has a Shutfist. The Pasha says he has a Shutfist. The says because you know there was a Power Mubaris, so he considers that status quo until proven differently. So the Pasha says that he could say that I had a Shutfist and therefore I don't have to pay more than 250. To sum it up, what happened over here? The Mishnah, there's a suffix if the power was mazik the shore. Question was if it had a shutuf or not. By looks, and it's talking about two shutfim. That there was that's why Yisod that they explained the Mishnah that there were two shutfim. The Balapor and the Balavlad. The Balapor surely was mazik. The Vlad we're not sure. The whole damage was Chatzi Nezek. So the whole thing we talk about is Chatzi Nezek. Each one says they have a shutuf. There two shutuf shazik, which has to be only half of that 500. Each one's going to pay 250. And even on the half of the Vlad, which is 250. He says, I don't know, maybe I wasn't asking at all. So now I'm going to suffer. He only has to pay half of that 125. So altogether, you're going to get a half, quarter plus an eighth. That's going to be the whole tashlum. You're not able to prove it from the nest.
And that's what the Mishnah means when it says Chatzi Nezek and Raviyah Nezek means from the Tashlumi Nezek. So really, Abaya's whole answer is one line.
Right. So we'll make that answer over here. To make the kasha and the terrace. The kasha was okay. Let's do the answer.
Also, can I ask a question about Sumchas? He's pushed back then, and he has to agree that it must have been Shutfim, right? He doesn't work if it's not Shutfim. Because then the guy would get Hetzi Nezek.
Wouldn't make sense. Wouldn't be Shutfim. Then wouldn't be Shutfim. Then what would be according to Abai if it wouldn't be Shutfim?
If they wouldn't be Shutfim, Mimanav Shach. Either your cow did it or both of you did it. You give me a half. So he's pushed back to say that it must be Shutfim.
He's not pushed back. Means the case that they're talking about. The Mishnah talks about a case according to Sumchas says more than Basafik Chokin. That's all he says. And with the case that Mishnah says that is half plus a quarter, it must mean Shutfim. And it means that's of course not going to mean 3/4. It's going to mean quarter plus an eighth. The whole payment that it says half and a quarter is talking about only the Chatzi Nezek already. So of the Chatzi Nezek, he gets half of that.
Of the 500.
Right.
Correct. Not of the whole half.
And then whereas there's an issue on the parentheses, so to speak, whereas an issue if the Bala Para is the burden of proof that he had a shutuf is upon him or not. If it is, so then he can't prove that he had a shutuf, he'd have to pay the whole Chatzi Nezek on his own. Because he doesn't know that there was a shutuf. Or maybe on that will be a chokin at least. And the other side of the Gemara is that the chazak is that it was mubaris, and therefore you could say that I had a shutuf. But that chazak is not going to be enough to be mechayiv the Bala Vlad. That's interesting. That Nizik should come. Okay, you shot at me chazaka. Now he goes to the Bala Vlad and says, "It's chazaka that you were around." He says, "No, I don't know if I'm a chazaka." Moment with Basafik chokin. Maybe that's a question. Maybe I'm bringing up problems as to ask that I'm talking. But that's what Abai's teretz was.
Let's just talk about that later. In the second line, why not? Oh, but it can't be Hoitzim Mom. Is that true? You can't.
Okay. That was Abai's teretz. Brother doesn't like it because it doesn't say that. It doesn't say a quarter and eight. It says half and a quarter. It doesn't say that, which means what you said, a quarter and eight. It doesn't say that. Of course, Abai means half and a quarter of the Chatzi Nezek, but it doesn't say that either. And what is a Chatzi Nezek or a Nezek Katan, which means sum total of a half and a quarter. It sounds like so. Your teretz that means a quarter and an eighth. Our brother doesn't agree. Elam Rabba, new teretz. When we learn the Mishnah, that it means it's one owner, not two owners. Abai said two owners, no, it's one owner. One person owns the mother and the fetus. Next page.
Right.
Lesser lepara, top line. Lesser lepara, mishalem, revi, and lesser line. Of course, you don't get a half plus a quarter. It means you get a half or a quarter. It means if the par is around, then you can collect your half a nezek from the para, half a nezek. If the par is not around, for whatever reason, the par is not around, you only have the vlad. Yeah, but that's a moment.
Collect 500.
Only can collect
500. You want to collect 500.
Yes. So if the par is around, you can get the whole 500.
Right.
If
If the bar's worth 500.
yeah, everything's worth. And if the only the vlad is around, say only maximum you can get is 250 because it says I don't know if I'm going to pay it. I don't know if it's mazik at all. So he gave, and the mission doesn't mean to say a half plus a quarter. It means a half or a quarter. So of course, if you can get a half, you're not going to get a quarter. You're going to go to get a half.
Right.
But it's only if the par is around. But if the par is not around, the par definitely was mazik, and the vlad was suffix mazik. If the par is here, then you can get the whole 500. Of course, only 500 or chatzi nezik, but you can get the whole chatzi nezik. But if only the vlad is around, so the most you can get is a quarter of the nezik because you don't know if it's chayv chatzi nezik and one multiple suffix. Okay, okay. The Gemara has a yes. I'm sorry. What is that?
That's an easy shot.
It's easy shot. So the mission doesn't mean half plus a quarter means half or a quarter. And then the question will be why should you get a quarter if he wants to get a half? Because the par is not here.
Well, that's not explained the mission. Oh, no, that's simple.
The par took off after that. He took off.
It's like take a break from all the tennis.
Run. It was the hit and run in the show.
Before, in the beginning of the Mishnah, it also had a chatzi and a reka. When it was uzaf, when it kicked it.
And over there.
There, man, you get both.
So that's going to be the answers. That for this, in order symmetrical, use the same motion. But
The kick and get it with the kicking.
we didn't say anything about kicking.
I know that chatzi and the reka. That means over here it's going to be a war.
I know.
The Gemara seems to be a side point now that the whole Gemara is going. I think, at least I'm not sure about that. The whole Gemara is going with that vlad is considered part of the mazik, and Gemara wants to know if a chicken that has an egg is that considered part of the mazik. If the chicken has an egg and it was mazik, are you going to say? Yes, let's say they need a case of a gufo. Are you going to say that the egg is also part of the mazik, or it's considered a separate? That's nothing. It's not separate. It's not part of the mazik. And the Gemara is going to say that the fetus is considered part of the mazik. So therefore, no, egg not, and the fetus, yes. There's a difference between egg and the fetus. You might have looked at the fetus also like it's not here, b'chlal. Of course, it's there, but it's a separate thing altogether, and it wasn't mazik. So no, you look at the fetus as part of the
I don't
mazik.
understand because what I understood is that it's giving a push. So the more weight, the stronger the push.
You have it any way you
So
want.
it shouldn't make a difference between if it's the fetus or the egg.
But that's the Gemara saying that the egg for sure not. It's not.
Why?
It doesn't have to do only with the weight. It has to do with part of it. It's a part of it. Only.
If it's bechira, the fetus has no bechira.
If the shore is carrying a load on its back, and that added on to the inertia when it pushed, because it had 100 pounds on it, so it was a bigger push. Are you going to say that the package is also part of the migufo?
I would say yeah.
Part of the migufo of the shore.
The Charlotte came
For sure, the effects in the scientific laboratory, they're going to find out that also happened. That damage happened because there was a load on its back. That's not going to make that as part of the migufo that it has to go. You're going to say that your load go to the bala load or to the owner of the and say that that's part of the migufo also. No, it's not. It's not.
That's you're saying the idea of the Uber is not because it gave more damage. Okay,
it has to be part of the shore. It has to be part of the shore. So it has to be part of the shore. So that's what the Gemara is. The Gemara goes on Rava, but Abai also the first masking to this point that everyone's looking at the vlad as part of the mazik. And the Gemara says, "Time of the loy din and you have a vlad ba'adoy kinokha lo." According to the way Rava just explained, his reason why he's paying half is only because we're not sure if he was there. That's why he pays half. Avli pshitalan to have a vlad ba'adoy kinokha mishtalim kulei chatzin nezik with vlad. If we know that it was there, then you would be able to get the whole chatzin nezik from the vlad. Which the Gemara could have also said. The fact that it pays even a quarter of the nezik is also says that it has to pay part of the nezik is considered part of the mazik. And the Gemara says, "Oh, Rabba Latame." We see Rabba is being consistent because Rabba says that the vlad is part of the mother as far as being mazik. Tama Rabba Parash Zika Gova Mavlada. My time Gufay Tanagolish Zika Ain't a Gova Mabitzaza. My time Pesha Balmu. that when a par was mazik, you do consider the vlad as part of the migufo, and therefore you could collect that because it's gufo. It's part of the mother. But a Tanagolas that has a beitza, you're not going to collect the beitza as part of the migufo because it's considered separated. The word perisha balma sometimes means that it's considered perish, which means just
Separate.
but here it means just separate. It means a separate and a separate entity, and you don't look at it as part of your mother, and therefore it's not called migufa. So the Gemara does talk about Rabba Tamei, but the Chayil one means Abai also. The whole Gemara is considering the Vlad part of the Mazik, and therefore that's Rabba said that.
I was explaining the initial halacha of the Mishnah.
That the Vlad is considered part of the Mazik. And why is Rabba Tamei? It's not a Perish Mishnah.
Even though I always look at the kavana of the mother is not the kavana of the blood, and that doesn't come into the cheshbon.
Right.
That's the part, because to me it's the mother that's the kavana of the nezik.
What does the Gemara say about Rabba Tamei? It's not the Mishnah. The Mishnah says that the Vlad is considered part of the Mazik.
Rabba says the reason.
Rabba Tamei is just say, it makes it sound like Rabba's pshat is Rabba Tamei. It's just say, Tanan Kaba say the Rabba. The Mishnah says that you have to pay from the Vlad. Isn't the Mucha according to any pshat? The Mishnah says you get some payment from the Vlad.
Isn't it Rabba who says Tom that it's proof and
Yeah,
that's Rabba's explanation.
Yes, but you want to bring Rabba Tamei. It makes it sound like the top line that this pshat of Rabba is consistent with what he says that the Vlad is part of the mother. Isn't the Mishnah saying that? The Mishnah says that.
No, he's saying since he explains the reason is because one is Pirsha.
No, he don't know. The Gemara says no. The Gemara is like Rava, and then says that fits with Rava, who says this thing that Parsha Zika is Gufa and Tanagolasha Zika the Beit says Pirsha. That Rava said. Very nice. But we should have said that this Rava is a Mishnah, not that it's time of the Rava's prat in the top line. Time of the Layadin and you have a Vlad Badar now, or else it would have paid. Rava L'Tamei. What's Rabba Tamei? The Mishnah is anybody telling the Mishnah that the Vlad doesn't play? The Mishnah is fair. That you get from the Vlad. It's fair.
It seems that the Gemara is being mochiach, and the fact that Rabba said that you would be able to be good at the whole thing from the Vlad.
Only because of
The
that.
fact that you could be good at half of it,
It's not.
half and half, that's not enough.
Why not?
Only if you could be good at the whole.
So that I don't
that's the words of the Gemara.
Yeah, that's the words also, and it goes with Rabba and and brings this whole
Shtam
dig over here.
Yes,
I don't
They
understand.
said that we would split it, that not.
I don't get it. If it's Pirsha, then it's garnished. Okay, that's the end of that Gemara. New Gemara. And this is Gemara. Rashi says this next Gemara is going on the Nizik case. Not this whole Gemara that we learned today was about the Mazik case, the Sefer, the Mazik case, where we're not sure if the Vlad was part of the Mazik or not. Now we're going to the case of the Nizik, the Resha, that the Param Muberis was damaged. And you wanna the Param Muberis, we're not sure if it was a Paula damaged or the Oba was damaged also. We're not sure if the Oba was damaged by the shore Shanoki Chasapara. So how do you
now Shor is married damaging the
and it damaged the Pora, and we're not sure if it damaged the blood or not. What is it? Suffolk, and we're going to say what's Mechabel Raya, and the Mishnah says the Cholkin on the blood. How much is the damage of the Pora Muberis? How do you evaluate the damage that was done?
Okay.
How do you evaluate the damage that was done? So the Gemara is going to say, I'm not sure what the you don't evaluate each one separately. It means that someone might come with a chachma that he's going to evaluate how much. Right now there's a parah and a vlad. So he wants to know how much a live parah was worth, and now it's only a dead parah. And he wants to know how much a live vlad is worth, and now there's a dead vlad. And for the parah, he'll pay chatzi nezek. And for the Vlad will pay a quarter nezek, like the Mishnah says in the beginning. How do you evaluate it? So it says, don't evaluate the Porah by itself and the Vlad by itself. Al Shamin, la Vlad, al Gav Porah. The way you evaluate is how much a pregnant cow was worth. That's called the difference between a pregnant cow and a cow that's not pregnant. That's how much the Vlad is. How much the Vlad is going to be worth.
Is it going to be worth value?
The difference is the difference between how much a parah is worth plus a vlad or a pregnant cow. A cow plus a vlad is worth more than a pregnant cow. So he's saying the way to evaluate it over here is not going to be a parah plus a vlad. It's going to be a pregnant cow and a dead pregnant cow. What's the next one? Ain't shaman paro with national love. The asma shaman levalo gaparo. Shem yeah to Omerkin. If you wouldn't say that and you're gonna evaluate each one separately, nims out makish as a mazik. You're gonna take away too much money from the mazik. You're gonna charge him for the whole paro
And a whole lot.
and a vlad, half of vlad, whatever you're gonna say, and that's too much. And the Gemara's going to say why. The Gemara is going to say that why it's too much. And the Gemara is really going into how you evaluate something. Whenever you evaluate something, how do you evaluate? Do you evaluate it on its own, or do you evaluate it how much it's worth as a part of the whole? I don't get what the Gemara is talking about. Here you have a case that there was masik a para muberes. So nowadays, and the side that you're paying because it was a para muberes, which was killed, and both of them were killed. So there's a side to say that you don't look at the para muberes that killed and dead. You look at the para separate. Why would you do such a thing? It was.
Well, for a simple example would be if they both belong to two different people. So if the guy who owns the Uber owns an Uber. Yes, that's
How much do you evaluate that? If you would assess how much that's worth, you would take the par muberes
no.
minus the par and the par not
He
muberes.
bought it yesterday. He bought shares yesterday.
How much did you pay for?
He paid for whatever he
You
paid for.
paid. You know how much you
But
paid.
Not
You paid
based
different.
on the price of the bar.
I think how much the difference is between the par muberes and the par non muberes. That's how much the flower is worth.
No, then why should he buy it? He's buying it because
Because it's an investment. He's going to have
That's how
no
much it's
funds.
worth. And then eventually it's going to be give birth and have the blood. But how much is it worth right now? How much is
but that's
a
going to
par-
be more. That's going to be more than
again? A par is worth $100. A par muberes is worth $120. So when you buy, you pay $20. How come you put $20 in it? Because eventually it's going to give birth to a live baby and I'll have it. And
That's the question. You can always claim that there's a suffix where it's going to be born.
so that all affects the price. That affects the
But
price.
sometimes the parts, if you add up each part, it'll end up more than the whole.
That's true.
So
So you might think you do that.
Yeah.
It's true. You might car,
a mirror of a car costs
Yeah.
600 shekel.
Yeah, you don't. So that's true. So you might think that
So
look at
here
each
you
one
have a dead part and a dead Uber.
So you might
So,
think
but
that you
in
look at
my
both
case,
parts again.
Why do you have to pay?
Okay, so we would say it's partial, probably. Like if the car was damaged and it has the mirrors, everything's all around. You're not going to take each thing separately and go to the parts place and say how much you go, how much the car's worth. Okay, that's what it says. If somebody cut off Ebed's hand, how do you? It doesn't even have to be an Ebed. It also could be even a Nezek. How much is Nezek? You evaluate that by going to the slave market. But how do you evaluate it? How much evidence is worth when he had a full hand, when he had a hand, and how much is worth when he doesn't have a hand? If someone was mazik a field, how do you evaluate it? How much it was worth before it was damaged? How much it was worth after it was damaged? But Pinchas has the kasha that we don't have it yet, that if somebody broke a window, he broke somebody's window. So he says, pay me for the window. How much does the window cost? It costs whatever, $50. He says, no, let's go to the real estate agent. How much is the house worth?
That's what Nemesis says.
That's a fella. So you don't pay for a broken window.
Nothing.
How much you pay for a
No,
broken
that's-
window?
no,
When you sell a house
That
and it
doesn't
has a
change
broken
the
window, does the price get it changed because of the broken window? So it doesn't make any
By the
difference.
way,
So you don't
it's
have to pay
not true
anything.
because when you sell a house,
No, you're talking about when you're getting the price for the house.
when a buyer comes to the house, if they
That's
if
one
they
of
go-
the
One second. After he decided to buy the house, now he comes to
yeah,
buy.
he
After he
decided.
saw the house,
Ah.
after he saw the house with 10 broken windows, and now there are 11 broken windows. It's going to be the same exact.
Yeah, okay, that's only if they decided, but if you want to put it on the sale.
Putting it on the market, that's
Okay, fine, accept that.
So that's a pella. That's a pella. That if someone breaks a
I
window,
don't know if you pass it like
you
that.
don't have to pay because it's how much is it worth? Let's go to the real estate broker and say how much this house is worth now. And you point out there's a broken window over there. He says, well, I don't have time for this. Like, well, doesn't change the price.
It's a leaky faucet. It's going to take me 200 shekels to change the leaky faucet. How much? 300? How much
That's
is
not-
leaky faucet? Change faucet? 300 shekels. 300, okay.
So that's the big pillar. The application. The so we understand the Mishnah, but
I think 450.
450.
But he bought the whole piece also.
Okay, good.
It's 350 his price and 100.
But it was a leaky faucet.
Yeah,
It's a leaky faucet. You called the
Okay.
leaky faucet.
so that would be a chiddush of the day. If we'd be saying Tafyomi share, we want something interesting. That's the point of interest of today. There's a possible to say that someone breaks 10 windows in somebody else's house, does not pay anything because they didn't take down the price of the house. So lo yitachin. L'chor lo yitachin. L'chor lo yitachin. Okay, new
There is a
Gemara.
chazan issue about that. You pay. But something that's supposed to be fixed, you pay for the amount of fixed cost to fix. That's someone told me this.
And this Gemara is talking about that's not going to be fixed. And then they down price of the house.
That's for me.
Nafkamina, if let's say you get someone's suit dirty,
It's growing. It's only growing.
you don't pay for the price, how much the
The
price,
suit is worth less
yeah, how much it costs to clean.
because it's only to be clean.
I'm causing you.
That's what I was told. I didn't check up inside. That's what I was once told.
So this is a nice point. Maybe all these cases are that it's not able to fix it. You can't fix the kotea yad and the mazik says the means that he ate the fruit, whatever. Maybe.
Rashi says he can chop down a tree. I think where's Rashi? Koitis and Diois are like ochal aruba. You're not going to make it back.
But if it's only to bring back, you have to pay how much it would cost to bring it back. In the case of the blood here that it died, so you're not going to fix anything up. And if it's something to fix up, then the price is going to be how much it costs to fix up.
But that would only be groma.
Kurama? No, it wants to know how much is the price, how much is it worth. So you're saying the worth here is how much it costs to keep it going. The worth is how much it keeps it effective. Maybe okay, that would be nice if that's like the right. Maybe it's being right. Then the more goes back to the point when it said that you can't evaluate each one separately because it'll be too much on the mazik. The makish is a mazik, so the more takes it literally. It says like Rahmanas. What does it mean that it's going to pay too much for the mazik? If that's how much he has to pay, that's how much he has to pay. So what it means, that's what it means. That he means to say that I wasn't mazik you more than that. I was mazik you a palm bearers. I'll pay you a palm bearers, and that's why you don't look at each one separately. But not that it means that Rahman is on the mazik. It means that's how much it's been a din. That's how much you should pay. New Gemara, Pshita, Parah the Chad of the Chad. Pitma the Bal Parah. That goes without saying that if two people own one the mother and one the fetus, and now that it died, you evaluate how much the loss was. The fact that it had more meat, the mother had more meat, it became fat. Maybe even because of the pregnancy, it became fatter. There are two aspects that the mother becomes fatter. One is because the fetus taking up space. One is that the mother becomes fatter. So the fact that the Shuman basa that the mother has, that's part of the mother, even though it might have been because of the over, but that's the mother. The mother is fat. And when they probably on the market price also, when they evaluate how much the mother is worth, how much the rod is worth, the fattening of the meat of the mother is attributed to the mother. But not from mine. The fact that it's big, the fact that the parah looks big, even though we know that it's only because there's something taking up space inside the mother's womb, and therefore it's bigger. But a big parah looks nice, and it's worth mother because of that, even though it's only cosmetics. The fact that it looks big makes it worth more. So who does that attribute to? Is that the cow says it's a big cow, so it belongs to me, and the owner of the fetus says, you know why you're a big cow? Because I'm inside of you. So maybe that additional value that the parah is worth because of its size, maybe it should be attributed to the fetus who's making it bigger. That also belongs to the Balpar because the mice of the Balpar is big, even though the fetus is causing it to be big. It's a big parah. That both of them have a claim on that, and therefore, whatever that value is worth is divided by both of them. And that's the horror. Rav has pointed out that it's not to do with the nezik. That's to do with the market. There's a question on the market. When you go to the market and one of them is going to buy the parah and one is buying the blood, the pitma, how much is that attributed to? Who pays for that? Who has to pay for that? Whose is it? So the Gemara says either with the Balpara or maybe Cholkin.
Well, what's the difference between Pitma and Nefcha?
Again, please.
What's the difference between Pitma and Nefcha?
It's choppy, so I'm not making out the words. If you could try it again.
It said Pitma. It said Pitma.
The connection is choppy. If you could say it again, please.
Pitma, it says Pitma, which means fattening, and Nifcha means what? Gets big. So what's the difference? Is it two different things?
Pitma means the fatness of the mother, not because there's a fetus inside of it, but because it has more meat.
And what is Nifcha?
The meat.
What is Nifcha?
Nafcha means its size, the volume, the fact that it's bigger because it's blown up. I don't think the word means blown up, but it has to do with the nefach, means the volume. It's volume, but because of the fetus being inside of it. Rashi on that?
And they're two different things. Are we saying that we're talking about the same thing? It's not the pitma is not because it's pregnant.
We're talking about two things. We're talking about the fact that a pregnant cow is bigger for two reasons. One reason it's bigger is because it has more meat, and one reason it's bigger is because there's a uber inside of it.
It has more volume.
Rashi does say by Pituma, having the balpor, the vlad machamase lo asi shomna. Rashi says that the fat doesn't become the fat of the meat doesn't become because of the vlad. I thought that maybe it does, and that's also attributed to the balpor. I would think. Like after I think that let's say I don't know about cows, but when a pregnant woman,
she gains
gains weight,
pounds,
even after,
but the baby comes out 6 pounds. So
right, and even with all of the liquid that comes out and all that,
right.
But there's still going to be the fatness. There's fatness of the mother.
Yeah.
So that I thought that's what the Gemara means also. That's still that definitely attributed to the mother. But Rashi says I'm not sure if Rashi means lafuki from what I said.
So are they arguing on just the nifcha, or they're arguing also pitma? That's what I'm not understanding here.
No. That's what the Gemara says. This is pshita, and this is a question. If you read the Gemara, it says pshita power power. That goes without saying. That's not a question. The only thing is nifcha mine.
Okay.
If it's on the screen, if you see the screen, so I tried to put the periods over there.
Yeah, I see.
Nifcha mine, that's the question, and that's the machlokes. Okay, next. So the Mishnah is going to have many examples of the same idea. A few examples of the same idea. I think what is it? Three examples of the same idea. And everyone's going to say, it goes without saying. Somebody has pots, a potter, he brought his pots into somebody's courtyard without asking any permission. And then Shibba Behem to Shabalabais. The Balabais animal walked around and he broke the pots. So you can't get, then comes time to say, pay for my pots, pay for your pots. What are you doing over here? For sure, Potter. The Behema doesn't have to pay for the pots. You shouldn't have brought it in. The on the contrary, the animal slipped on the pots. So then you got to pay. But if they're outside, you got to pay. You brought it in Shlobishus. And how about make this smaller? He did have permission to bring it in, and the animal ate it up. You got to pay because I brought it in with permission. That means you should have made sure that the animal doesn't disturb it. And if it would have damaged the behema, so then the balabhema can't claim that because let me bring it in. It says that's the Mishnah, and now I have a couple of, and then when we get to the end, we're going to see there's a machlokus about it. Not everybody agrees. Not everybody agrees about what was said so far, but it's going to have a couple of more examples. That's the same thing. Instead of putting his payros into the chasab alabais without asking, and the same thing, the animal damaged it, they ate it up. The owner's animal ate up the payros, because you shouldn't have brought it in. If the animal got damaged because of the payros, then the person has to pay because you shouldn't have brought it in. Because you shouldn't have, but if he did have permission to bring it in, then then the behemoth is going to have to pay for eating it because when I brought it in, you should have washed the animal there because you told me I could bring it in. Third case, someone brought in his ox to somebody else's chassid without asking permission. The same story over again, that the owner's shore damaged the visiting shore that came visiting route Rishus. Ocean Noshko Kabash Balabais, or the owner's dog bit him, but because you shouldn't have come in. And if this unexpected visitor damaged the balabais, his own properties, then he has to pay. He shouldn't have come in. And other cases, and this is a part of the same case of this shard that came in without rishus. Not for the bar of the hivish mema chayiv. If the shard that came in without any permission fell into the bore of water, didn't get damaged. He damaged the water. He made the water disgusting now. So in other cases, instead of saying that he gored the balabais' ox, he damaged the balabais' water, or if there was a father or somebody, relative, somebody was inside the bore, and then the shark fell into the bore and he killed him. So it's kofer because you shouldn't have. All these cases you shouldn't have been in. In all these, in this last case, if he did have rishus to bring in the shore, so then the balabais shore damaged, so then because since he gave me permission to come in, So you have to watch it. You shouldn't be mazik me. So it says 3 cases of the same yisod. If you have permission to come in, if you have no permission to come in, so you have no claims, and on the contrary, you're going to be mazik. If you have permission to come in, so then you're protected because rishus to come in includes that I'm going to take care of your thing also. And this one point that when you give permission to come in, it includes that I'm going to watch that your thing's not going to get damaged. It's not so simple. Just because I let you come in doesn't mean that I'm going to take care of your thing. Maybe I just let you come in, but that's at your own risk. It's not so simple. So Tana Kamma holds when you say come in, it means I'm going to take care of your thing. And Rabbi says doesn't mean that. It means you can come in, but I'm not going to take care of it. Doesn't talk about that case if it damages. If it damages, then no machlokes. If you're allowed to bring in your pots, then at least that much you're going to be and not at your own risk. If I'm going to fall on it, that I think we wouldn't argue. That's not so simple.
They're also talking about like this or not?
Right.
In other words, what would Rebbe
Hold about if he had rishus to come in and then the balabais ashore got damaged from the pots.
that meant he wasn't a kabbalah to watch.
So the first time I heard Chaim David was when you were playing guitar nearby, and he asked if you could leave your guitar in my porch. I said, "Sure, b'vakasha." Then and everything went fine. Everything was good. But the question would have been if the guitar would have gotten damaged, would you bet a taina? Or I just said you could put it down, but and I can't watch it. So what do you mean? What does it mean when somebody come in? What does it mean? That's the question. And the hook is Tana Kamma and
you're on your own risk.
or come in and I'll take care of it.
I'm not watching it. You can say I'm not watching.
That's what I ate now.
But usually you're gonna say so. You're gonna say so. Oh, you can come in, but I'm not gonna take responsibility.
The person's there or not. It's leaving.
If he's leaving.
Staying with him.
What's going to be what's understood? What is understood? Okay, so that's the machlokes. Outcome. Okay. Good.
Why is he
Sure.
showing for the week on its back? There's now characters in Japan for the benefit of the Bava.
So that doesn't make it goofy. It doesn't make it goofy. Even though yeah, that's not I think so.
More damage.
I think that's a given, right? That's what's more called about that chicken's egg. The chicken's egg
I
is
feel like when the car is carrying a certain amount of weight, it's considered when can the car go over the bridge when it weighs X amount, it's everything in the car.
so that would be true that you're responsible if to know how much you're into damage. So you can't say it's an onus that it wasn't expected, like the car. You're taking a car, you're taking a truck. What are you taking? So you have to know if the weight that you're carrying is possible to damage, or are you considered an onus or not. It wasn't your fault, but it's not called a buko. It's still not called a buko. The shore. All the cases of the car, I think the car is usually Adam Mazik. I think halachically when we get to the sugyas, I think that the car is called Adam Mazik. It's not called that. You're driving the car.
The brakes or something, but regular.
That'll be an onus,
Regular cars.
and the onus is going to be how much it's going. It's called koichan.
No. Yeah, but a regular person that drives and it's other one.
I think so. It's not called koichan. I think koichan when you throw something, but here I don't know if it's true.
Have energy to push a car.
You press the gears.
So I pressed the gears, but I did.
And the car rammed into something. So I think it's called Adam Mazik, which is like holding a hammer.
When someone shoots you, guns the same thing.
No, a gun is koichan, and by Adam koichan is chayiv also. It's chayiv. I mean, you're saying there's no difference. You're saying that if it's called koichan, it's also going to be chayiv. Adam is chayiv and koichan also. So there's no difference. This is not difference. Is it because a car called koichan or it's called gufa? So there's no difference because anyway it's chayiv anyway. Okay, we'll be back in a minute. Thank you.